Hello everybody, a warm welcome back to Grant and CPT channel. Long time no see. We're back again in Citation Jet 525 today, Talk Sim 1.0 or 1.1 depending on how you look at it. We'll be going through a little bit of a hop across Switzerland today, France and Switzerland. And we'll be taking the little jet here to just try it out and see the improvements since the updates. Physically, still very much looks the same. But physics-wise, they've changed some things. Flight dynamics feel changed. Interior does feel changed a little bit. Some things, right from the get-go, not great. Some of these changes have not improved the aircraft. They have, in fact, taken it back a little bit too far. I think the sound design, especially, they have implemented new F-mod sounds. And I'll be quite honest, they are not as good as they were before. They do feel very, very thin and very light outside. You can barely hear the engines. Inside the cockpit, they're very overwhelming. We're going into this nice little green and brown livery today. This is actually an aqua livery, so water livery. And of course, registration Golf Romeo Alpha November Tango. I've customized that for my own name, Grant, or short for Grantham. I want to bring it up for you on the screen so we can go through it, but there was an email sent to me of the updates in this aircraft, and I want to go through them to point them out now so that we can focus entirely on the flying when we're in the aircraft and we can notice them on the go. Otherwise we'll be distracted. So, Citation Jet 525 updates. I hope you will be able to see this. I'm bringing it up in a Trying to bring it up in a document for you. I may have to export this in a PDF, believe it or not. A lot of pain, a lot of hassling sometimes on computer stuff, isn't it? Wish we could all just have an easier experience. So what I'm going to do is to make this just a little bit easier. I'm going to stick this in my FMS plans. That would be nice. I'll stick it there as a PDF. And we can bring it up in the Avitab. Excellent. Really good useful tool, Avitab. Not just for flight plans, not just for maps, but for bringing up a whole lot of documents here regarding Explain 12 in any sort of way, shape or form. So here we go. Citation 525 updates. And I've just copied and pasted the content to the email. Now you'll notice there's two sections here. We have new features and improvements and bug fixes. Take note of that. This is very, very important, because if you've never bought this plane before, you might be wondering why some of this stuff wasn't already implemented. And if you've already got it, you're probably thinking it was already implemented, especially things like persistent systems, which we'll get onto in a little bit. So the first one, if not the most important, new features, integrated weather radar featuring ARDR 2000. Many thanks to Amy Perrin and Laminar team for such an amazing addition to Explain 12. And of course, credit goes to Explain 12 developers, because they are the ones who have made the weather radar. And it's only, as far as I can tell, it's the only weather radar in the flight sim, or at least the first of its kind, that actually does use live weather. It's a complicated system, but yeah, my thanks to them as well. The TalkSim team decided to leave it quite a few months before implementing it, and I'm going in the basic citation today. We've not got GPS, we've got a basic panel stack, and therefore there's going to be a lot of space on the panel still blank. Now I find that very, very interesting. They could have added a bigger weather radar perhaps, or maybe a little bit more there, a few more switches and things, just to fill that blank space. Secondly, we have library and code adjustments throughout to fully support Explain 12. Yes, we are in Explain 12.4 now, and I'm so glad to be in it, because we've now got that multi-core processing, which is crucial to enhance performance in pretty much every single way. I've noticed an improvement in frame rates, I've noticed an improvement in GPU and CPU management and output. Updated and improved FMOD sound pack. This is where things go a little bit south. I was actually quite happy to hear that, but then when you hear the sounds of the aircraft, the improvement I think is in the cockpit, and they've made it more like sounds are louder, switch sounds are louder, the rumble on the runway is much clearer, but it is a little bit overwhelming. So it sounds like they might have just amplified the sounds rather than anything, but then the external sounds have been dampened down, and it actually makes it sound very, very quiet. You're probably wondering why I'm not flying at the same time and just showing you, but sometimes it's best to discuss these things on the ground so we know what we're in for. Otherwise, you know, we're getting there and we don't really know what we're looking for, so we know we're going to have to take note of the sounds. Then, last one, improved and tweaked objects, textures and animations throughout. I'll be honest, the TalkSim Citation Jet 525 was never graphically superior to any other model. And a lot of people think it looks fantastic and looks great, which, yeah, sure it does on the outside, but there are still a lot of blurry lines there, and when you get in the cockpit and in the cabin, there are also a lot of blurry lines on the instruments, and it just doesn't look as clear and crisp as some of those other add-ons on the market, especially things like Air 4 Labs' King Air 350, for example, a spiffing example of an aircraft in pretty much every respect. So that's the new features. There were features there that were missing, which I would have liked to have seen. The most obvious one being perhaps an Avitablet integration. There is an Avitablet thing, not an Avitablet, but a tablet in the cockpit. I pointed that out in my original Cold Dark review. And that tablet was unclickable. It had a click region, but it was unusable and did not function. Now, my advice to TalkSim would be, if you are going to drop an update, bring in that tablet. People want it, people need it. We can use the pop-up Avitablet, but to have that tablet functional in the cockpit is much, much easier to use, and people will thank you for it. People will more likely to buy this product, and I'm not selling it, I am not selling it, but people are more likely to get interested in this particular plane because it will have an Avitablet built in to an actual physical tablet. It will also have the weather radar now, as we talked about, and some of those improved features. That's something I would have liked to have seen. They have changed, before we get into the improvements and bug fixes, the chocks. Now I point this out now because originally when I got this I was under the impression that the chocks would work straight away. And they didn't. They would roll and the plane would roll on the hill, but now they seem to actually hold it in place. Also when I remove them, as you can see the nose wheel has stopped doing that strange steering thing, so it used to stop on the ground and just start steering on its own. So thank you for fixing this. I do think the improvements are good, but I think some things are going to be a little bit of a huge difference for us. Back to the improvements and bug fixes. So the latest UNS1 version 122 fixed crash from the last airport in the flight plan is on the FM leg. Fixed dates incorrectly formatted, month off by 1 date after April, number 72. So this is something I did notice in the aircraft. The UNS, which is something I actually hardly use. I usually just navigate VOR. You would only really need the UNS if you need to do an instrument approach or something, or an instrument departure. Or you can just use it if you want to visualize the flight plan on the instruments. But, you know, there's no actual need to use it if you're going to be flying visually anyway. So we are IFR today. We've got cruiser 23,000. A few stops on the way over to Germany. Yeah, that's very nice. So fixing a few things there. Fixed distance computation of arc. This is very useful. And fixed times displayed with 60 minutes past the hour in some situations. Again, all little tweaks and mods here, just improvement, quality of life things that you love to see. PVOR now pre-fills inbound track for runways picked from list. This VOR now pre-fills inbound track is extremely useful for pilots and will save them time. You won't have to, of course, put it in manually. And sometimes that is something you have to do on the UNS. You do have to put it in manually, which is part of the fun, I think. PVOR using true runway heading rather than magnetic. Now, this stood out to me because you would have originally thought that it would have been programmed to follow the true heading, or at least... Well, I didn't realise it was actually programmed to follow the magnetic heading. The reason why that probably wouldn't work too well in a sim, I'd imagine, is because can you really accurately model the magnetic heading of a compass in the game compared to the real one? You know, it's very, very difficult to do that. Either way, that's a nice improvement. A little bit more accurate there on the VOR, especially when you're coming down for an ILS or something like that, or a VOR DME approach. And we're just coming on to that next part, actually. Fixed bad localizer front course passing leading to off-course CF legs. CF is center fixed. Bad localizer front course passing. I did notice that actually in the aircraft. Not being able to intercept headings on the localizers, not being able to intercept the actual glide, so because of it. Being a little bit all over the place and just not really getting on course properly. So they've definitely improved that, that's nice. Apparently it's been fixed. We might have this tested today if we've got an ILS available. And then fixed VOR and localizer database, declination not used for center fixed legs computation. Excuse me, saying center fixed legs, but of course it could mean something else here. But I think that's what it means, but it could be something else. Don't take my word for it. I'll always chat with the developers and always go online for your own research. Fixed standby resume. Fixed standby resume, is that? I'm not sure. There's different meanings to this word. So fixed standby, failing to restore flight plan when using radial or radial custom waypoints. Latest version of the library. Something of the latest version there to fix X-Wing 12.4 plus compatibility. So again, just improving some bugs there to make it work with X-Wing 12.4, which is not surprising, to be fair. All aircraft should be doing this. Adjustments. Actually, one of the things before we move on is I will praise TalkSim for their first of all selling the aircraft on their own store. That always gets bonus points. Secondly, for having their own dedicated pop-up menu and their own dedicated downloader. That means that rather than having to rely on external things to update it, you can actually use their own updater. I might not have worded that very well, but that's bonus points. 100% bonus points. It makes it a lot easier to interact with, and it makes it a lot funner. If you have an external thing, you know, I'm going to be perfectly honest, those external things that keep things up to date, again, I'm being very vague here, are just not very good. But when you get a developer that has a dedicated module for updating and keeping the aircraft in shape, it will always be better than a separate add-on. It just always will, because it's for their own software. It's been programmed by their team. Let's just connect the battery. So again, that persistent state there. Persistent fuel systems is something that will pop up. And of course, we just finished the list here as we get the door open. It's a Citation Jet, my own private Citation Jet. So let's see, some of those animations here still very, very good. I think they're a little bit slow, but there's definitely some sound there now. Anyway, I just did base system library with ordered and fixes. Replace deprecated data usage, data ref usage. Again, data refs are important if you're using the Honeycomb hardware. So if you've got the Alpha and the Bravo, for example, you may want to mess around with the data refs. I did do it at one point, and I managed to get a few things programmed in, but it's a very, very tedious and not enjoyable process, and it very much feels like you're becoming a developer rather than a game player. Adjusted particle system dynamics, I haven't really noticed it too much, but it does. Again, the echo is very, very good, even though something's been not great on the update. Next page, migrate to new X-Plane 12 chock system, fix rolling away on ground. Yeah, I was very surprised about this initially, Talksim. So, obviously when you buy the product, you want it to work straight out of the box. To have chocks not working and then to go to X-Plane 12 native chocks, that to me feels like an easy way out. Now, if they can program a plane to be so good at handling, and unfortunately one of the parts of that's gone worse, I think, is the handling since the update, then they can definitely fix their chocks and put them in there instead of relying on X-Plane 12 stuff. You see, it's not that I don't appreciate them doing the work, it's that they're not actually doing the work. So, saying it very politely, but they're taking other people's work and then they're selling it for money. X-Plane 12 chock system, X-Plane 12 weather radar, for example, and they're going to be charging $80 for it. I don't like that. I don't think that's acceptable. Sure, integrate their X-Plane 12 stuff into the aircraft and make it better, but don't use it and take it as an easy way out, just you can continue to sell something for a high price. And I think I sit by my original review that the aircraft is not worth $86 or however much it's worth. It just really isn't. It's a very basic model and it's not visually that good in the cockpit. You know, it looks okay, but since this update it's become a lot worse, especially sound design. The lighting is now very dark, and the handling as well. It just feels like if this was perhaps a bigger plane, maybe a Citation Jet 4, maybe it had more inside it, more physical things modeled like baggage, more higher quality models, just more systems to be justifying that price. But so far I still can't find anything to actually justify it. And I actually had a comment on the channel about somebody saying that Talksim don't and X Aviation don't put out very good aircraft. Well, I think they do. You know, I think this is a very good one, but it just doesn't feel like it's worth that money. And I think money YouTubers and gamers on X-Plane 12 will agree with me, especially with the Microsoft market, when we've got competition charging, you know, $20 to $30 for products that are extremely in-depth. They include things like oil checks, manual refueling, you know, and all the lot of it, and diagrams. They still haven't added a diagram. They've added they've got an electrical one which comes with a base plane, but they've not added anything there for engine diagrams or just another diagram of the systems, perhaps an environmental control system diagram. And we're going to talk about that in the cockpit because I've been watching some videos on it, and it just seems like some stuff in the cockpit isn't functioning as it's supposed to in real life. Again, that could be to keep it accessible, but it would be unrealistic operation apparently. So, new chock system, fix missing altitude minimum alert. Again, something I was expecting on the original plane. So you'll get a call out now with your minimums. It will say minimums at last, finally. So 500 feet. I think that's like an example, but you could choose any altitude up to, I think, 2,000 or 3,000 feet, something like that. Anyway, improved accuracy, EHSI colour schema. I have noticed when I got in, the instruments on the digital instruments do look very, very clear, and they look saturated now. So Before they did have a little bit of a dull look, but now the colour scheme seems to pop out a little bit when you turn them on. And again, those improved sounds on the switches. The switches sounds have got better, they've got louder and easier to hear, so you can really feel the electric system come alive when you switch the battery on. Fixed buggy DME behaviour for speed time with improved alpha beta filtering. DME behaviour. So DME behaviour was something I found on the forums quite a bit. In relation to the aircraft, people were having issues with it not displaying the correct time or the correct speed. I had that issue as well, not getting the correct speed on it. I also had the issue of it not detecting the DME distance at all. So it would just say 000, so non-detection was an issue. We now have persistent transponder code, flaps and fuel persistence. Again, I was under the impression fuel persistence was actually already included. Now, the reason why we were pointing out the fact that we've got two sections here is because we're in the improvements and bug fixes section of things. So when you go across to this persistence, that actually suggests that these were potentially working for some people, but for the majority they weren't. So they've fixed these now, and they are in fact now persistent throughout flights. And I'm pretty sure at some point I did have fuel persistence, but it just stopped working. So again, that would correspond with why it's in the fixes part rather than the new features, if you catch my drift. So they've caught on to the fact that things aren't working correctly. Again, it's nice, developers just take a note of them. Improved custom tail system handling with missing fonts. I haven't had any issues with the tail thing and the custom call signs at all. To be fair, I don't really use it that often. Fixed bus for floodlights. Again, just an electrical coding thing going there, so probably for the buses. And fixed handling for COM1 to be usable with emergency battery. Floodlight correct electrical bus. I can't see it on there, but I think that's everything that was on the update, unless I missed it. That's everything on the update, everyone. And if you go into here, apparently they added lights to these little cargo bay pods. I haven't seen them illuminate yet. I would like to see these dials in the front work though, and at least be usable. And I would also like TalkSim to please for the love of God, buy a dictionary, because if you know how to spell reservoir once, i.e. here, reservoir, then you can spell it twice. Can anybody spot the spelling mistake? Because I can. So TalkSim, if you're watching, and by the way, just before we move on, I think there were some things are missing off that list, but they've improved the wing lights. The wing lights are now in fact working. Before they weren't working at all when I was switching them on. But yeah, going back down here, let's play guess the missing letter or whatever it is. Hydraulic reservoir, again, reservoir not spelled correctly. There are many reviews on YouTube, and I didn't point it out on my original because I didn't feel the need to. I thought people could see it. But I watched some other reviews and it seems like people have just completely ignored it and accepted it. I mean, to spell it wrong on the outside is pretty bad for the kind of price you're paying. Go inside and then to spell it right is strange again. I don't think that's going to break the plane for you, but it's certainly going to make you feel a little bit embarrassed for the developers, because yeah, just I don't get it guys. Spelling and maths mistakes on these kind of models when they've done the physics very well, it always blows my mind. And it just, with the technology we have in 2026, we have autocorrect for goodness sake on pretty much every single device we have. I just don't get how they can make such a fundamental error. Let's just have a look around the aircraft. So nothing's really changed other than what we've pointed out. We may as well get in and get started. Let's hop in. I will walk into the plane. You can see the layout. So I'm going into the Aqua. And this is the one with a nice brown and black layout. So you can see here the seats. A nice chawny livery, as they say in the old Ruski. We'll get some of these window lights things open, the blinds. Looks like I'm a little bit of a midget in the cockpit and the cabin. Yeah, very nice cabin layout. As I say, you change the livery and it changes the design. They've not added the ability to fold the seats back yet. I know there's no room to do it realistically, But I would like to see maybe a movable, adjustable seats, especially in the cockpit as well. And I would also like to see the addition of a life vest in here, because yeah, they seem to have added a fire extinguisher and a medical kit, which is fantastic, both legal requirements. But then they've excluded aircraft documentation, which is supposed to be here and here. There's a book there, but that to me, it doesn't mean anything. It's just got number 7 on it. So yeah, I think from a legal place, they're actually doing quite well. A lot of developers don't bother to put those in. Going into the cockpit, I did notice down here, so graphically, I think they may have tweaked some stuff here. It did look worse in the past, and it used to look a bit more blurry. Especially this button. I guess it kind of does here. But it seems, I don't know, it just looks a tiny little bit better. It might just be because I'm playing a new updated plane and it feels all brand new. Let's get the battery on. Let's get the aircraft alive. It is very, very quiet. One more time. Don't worry, we got a positive charge there on the battery. Minimums call out. Still got it at 200 feet. Let's just check if the systems are in fact persistent. Radio stack seems to be on the same one. The clock is correct for GMT time. Transponder is in fact 7,000, so that's persistent. Fuel. If we go on to the weight and balance, and also the colours, so you can see these colours are now popping out. I know I'm very close to it, but they are popping out a little bit more. Weight and balance. So it does seem like it's about the same as last time. We're going to be going full today, so I'm going to estimate 155 maybe for each packs. And talking about improvements and new additions, they still haven't added a weight and balance for kilograms, so they've still not added the ability to change from pounds into kg. They've still not changed it from pounds down here on the fuel to gallons or litres, which is probably more useful, to be fair, than pounds, because yeah, I'm still surprised. There are things that have surprised me. It sounds like they've amplified the sounds rather than make them improved, and you're going to hear it when they start up the engines. But yeah, to add a conversion here to kg for us in the United Kingdom, it's just so much easier, isn't it? Because I don't know what the average weight in pounds is in kg. I can't do that off the top of my head. I mean, obviously in real life we would, but anyway, moving on. It was supposed to be persistent systems, so I did turn off the EMEs last time. They've come on when we've gotten the aircraft. That could just be part of the systems. There's the weather radar. We're not going to turn that on now because we're in the vicinity of a building. There's probably going to be some flammable materials in the area and we don't want to set them alight. But yeah, as you can see, TalkSim, not exactly the most impressive graphically. It does feel very, very outdated on some of these things. A lot of it is very, very blurry as well. Again, reviewers just completely ignore this. They just completely ignore the fact that a lot of these textures are just subpar for the price. The reflections are good, but the reflections also don't really reflect what it's actually seeing. So again, just more inconsistencies. We're going to get in, we're going to get the checklist open. So oxygen control valve is in. It's down here, everybody, on and normal. Oxygen mask checked. Again, they've not added functionality to the masks yet. And therefore, excuse me. And therefore, what is the actual point of them? I've tried to use the mask in the air. Oxygen mask, but that is not very fun clicking on there. Plus, I can't even click on it now, so maybe it isn't even working. Yeah, I don't see the point of modelling it if it's not going to be implemented into the aircraft. Circuit breakers can be popped out, but they are all in at the moment. Standby gyro switch. Let's get the avionics off. Control lock in. Standby gyro on. Battery switches on. 24 volts plus avionics power. We probably don't even need to program in anything into UNS, but we probably will today. And I'm already bored of the chat list, so let's get on with it. I know what to do at this point, guys. So let's get the generators on. Beacon. We won't get nav lights because it's too early. I'll get the lights on for you in here so you can see it. So, bring up the flight plan. Put it into sky vectors. We've got a standard route on IFR. Cruise level 23,000, but of course we won't get up to the altitude. Albertville Aerodrome over here to a small little airport over here just opposite Geneva called Lausanne. A small airport there we can fly to just over the lovely lake. Really nice scenery around here, by the way, on X-Plane 12. It really is so relaxing to fly in. And then we got a little bit of a 100 stretch there all the way across the pink line over to now excuse the pronunciation, Friedrichshafen EDNY, and then another trip about 190 nautical miles up there to another part of Germany. And again, in a beautiful airport, we're going to go past to Siegen land, and there's a DMA there, excuse me, NDB there we can track when we're on the course. So the plan was to go and do a full stop at each airport. I think that's fair enough, but we won't park up and stop and shut down. We'll just simply fly in, land, and then we'll turn back and take off again. And that way we can really test the aircraft and put it through its paces. And that's what we need to do today. You don't just need to test and hear the sounds, but we need to test the flight dynamics, which unfortunately I do think deteriorated. Okay, after a lot of waffling, we continue. Very simple basic start procedure in this aircraft. Everything is off. We've scanned the instruments. We are going to welcome people on board. We're going to secure the aircraft door. First of all, stick the steps inside. And there are graphical improvements and changes. So down here you'll notice that there's blank. So before it would be red. Now when we close it, rather than the whole thing illuminating green, you get these two little levers that slide into place. And they say door closed. Not too keen on that, I'm not going to lie. My preference was for the green and red. It was much clearer to see it. Now you had to zoom in quite a lot to see it. It's just not as distinct as it was before, but it still worked. You know, they could do what they want with their aircraft, can't they? But personally don't like it. You know, they could have added something else. More important things on board, I think. Maybe some whiskey in the fridge over here, or some functional bottles. There's a whole empty shelf there which could have had stuff in it. This bottle here, we got no idea what this is. I do appreciate the effort, and you have to go in. I've pointed this out in my original review, but this is in fact one of the most expensive bottles in the world. This is, you know, as you can see there, you can see the design of it. The bottle itself is very, very expensive. This will cost you it'll cost you more than a house to buy it. So I think to have that on board may be a little bit too unrealistic. I may be exaggerating the price. If they'd shown it a little bit more and we could see what it is, that would have been good, but we can't see what it is. You need to show it off then. And then you got diet jet fuel, which doesn't really go with it. You know, get some proper Pepsi in there, get some Coca-Cola for goodness sake. These fat bastards on this plane want to drink till their hearts go boom. Okay, we're going to move on now very swiftly. We're going to go for a right engine start. Monitoring the systems. We've got movement there in the fan. Going to introduce the fuel. Cabin announcements are quieter as well. Let's just turn the sound down using the headset. So this is very cool. You can adjust the headset sound and make it louder or quieter for yourself. Looks like we've got another engine start to go. That was pretty successful though, no issues. Left hand engine now, and introduce the fuel. Not that loud outside, as you can tell if we move round to the front. Those sounds are very, very shallow, and that's exactly what I'm talking about on the sim. The Torque Sim improved it by adding more F-mod sound. You can hear it in the cockpit, and you'll be able to hear it when taxiing and taking off a landing. But then outside, I don't know what compelled them to reduce the sound, I really don't. So we'll go down here to the air conditioning. Now, I was going to bring it up on stream and go through it, but I think to make it a little bit easier, I'm just going to explain it here so you don't have to watch the video. Now, we can stick the air conditioning in automatic, that's fine. If we want to do temperature select onto manual, this switch down here, if you're a Citation pilot, you'll know. If you're not, maybe you won't. But this switch where my mouse is hovering is actually not a freeway switch, but rather, well, it is a freeway switch, but it's not a persistent switch, so you have to flick it and then it will flick back to its original position. Again, my explanations are just not great, so forgive me for that. Basically, they've programmed it, Torque Sim have programmed it to be clickable and then it stays in one place. For example, it just stays in the hot position, but in real life it would in fact pop back to the center. Now the reason is you would only really hold it into either position for maybe a couple of seconds to adjust the cabin temperature. So in order to do it, you would keep it into manual, of course, and then change it. But yeah, a strange decision there by Torque Sim to have a switch there which stays in position, which isn't actually reflective of the real aircraft. So I think if they could perhaps just research the aircraft a bit more, just see how it operates, you know, they will see that this switch can be flicking back to the middle when it's switched. Usually we'd have the temperature here when it's on automatic to about 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock positions apparently, and anything less is too cold and anything more is too hot. Now if we want to adjust the temperature and make it warmer, we have to preempt it. So because the aircraft takes a while to heat the cabin up, you will have to probably turn it a couple of notches before you get up to cruise level to make sure the cabin warms up in time. Today though, we're probably not going to need that, so we'll keep it about that position. We're going to put these onto low. We'll keep the air conditioning on automatic. I've got fresh air coming in at the moment. There's nothing wrong with that. When we take off, we'll put it on both and we'll pressurise the aircraft. We probably won't get above, we won't get very high at all. We might probably not get above 12,000 feet, I think. So 12,000 feet. Just going to check the ATC. I know we've got ATC in the area. We're going over to the dark side, as they say. 122.8. And if everybody was here for that flight on Monday in the Ryanair 737, thank you. I really enjoyed that flight actually, where we got put into a hold. It was a lot of fun to do. Okay, birds in the vicinity. We've got a QNH 1021, runway 23 for departure. Go ahead and get this programmed in. 1021. The backup as well. And we'll put 23 on the heading. Welcome in. I can now read your chat after that long and brutal introduction. I hope it was very useful to see the updates, and I hope if you have flown the aircraft, you're going to be able to contribute in the chat. Not in the chat, but in the comments. And let me know what you think has improved, if anything. I think, as I say, there's been improvements, but there's also been things that have gotten a little bit worse. We're going to squawk 7422. We are classed as IFR. We're going to put the weather radar in the air. Initial course, according to the map, as we looked at before, will be on a course of 009er. We'll probably land in the same direction we've taken off, and I'm just checking the METAR at the moment. So Albertville, it's looking very calm. 5 knots of wind, 010 at 5 knots. Caveat conditions 1021 on the QNH. Right, we continue to Lausanne. Taxi lights coming on. No need for any windshield heat. It's actually really warm here today, 22 degrees. Wow. Back to the charts, little off topic, but I saw you flying the Seneca 2 around. You think it's a good value if I like flying twins? Well, welcome Matt M. If you are still here, brother, please go over to the channel and check out the Seneca 2 review, which I actually did not too long ago. I did a full review, cold and dark review of the aircraft, and I think that's just a great video to look at. You'll learn about the aircraft, and you'll learn about whether or not I recommend it. I think overall it was a very good experience, but we don't want to detract too much from the Citation today. Parking brake released, area is clear, keeping an eye out on this left hand side for the hangars. Ailerons, elevators and rudder controls. You've got free and correct movement, workspace is clear. Foot brakes work. Let's calculate our speed, or well, we can check the speed for takeoff. So we have a total weight again. Torques in. My recommendation, my friends, is to add a conversion here to kg. We all want it. And with respect, you have got a good plane here, very good plane, so you need to enhance it with these conversion weights, and that will make it life a lot easier for pilots on the sim. 97.4 on the fan. We're going to do a brakes on departure, so we'll hold the brakes and advance to 97.4. We'll be using 1 notch of flaps on takeoff, so we'll put 1 notch down now for in preparation. Really, you wouldn't have them when you taxi in, so maybe actually realistically we would put them down on the runway before taking off. Altitude on the squawk code, VR is 101, we want that, so we're going to put 101 here. Minimums would usually be 200 feet, and then when we get up to about 1,000 we will, you know, retract the flaps, make sure the gear is already locked in place, and get the landing lights off. Let's get the anti-collision lights on. We're going to use the pitot heat and the continuous ignition down here when we get onto the runway and get ready to take off. So I have assigned 2 switches to the Alpha Bravo quadrants here by Honeycomb to make life a little bit easier, so we don't have to use our keyboard and mouse too much. We're squawking, we're lights in the taxi position. We are about to get onto runway 23. Albertville traffic, Golf Romeo Alpha November Tango, backtracking runway 23, departure to the north. Yeah, well, appreciate that, Matt M. I hope you enjoy it. My recommendation is, you know, do your own research, make sure you understand what you're actually getting, and whether you actually want that kind of aircraft, and if you do, it might just be the right one for you. Let's click the GA go around button. Now I have noticed torque sim that since you updated to 1.1, the go around bar is no longer working. So in the past you would push GA for go around down here on the throttles, and it would go to 10 degrees pitch up, which is about right for a go around, but now the flight director is stuck in this position, so there's some issues there with the flight director that need to be ironed out. Welcome Luke, ZX, and a load of letters and numbers. I hope you're doing very well. It is a great plane, yeah, it's a very small plane. Since the update, you know, I still enjoy it. I really enjoy flying it. It's really good for the hard to reach places, you know, the smaller runways. It can even land on grass runways, believe it or not. Not that I would though, of course, in real life, because it's an insurance issue, isn't it? And you have to get approval for it. Citation X in flight gear. Oh wow, I never flew that on flight gear, but I did fly the Citation Jet 2, which is very interesting. I think that was the 525 Alpha. Again, very good planes on flight gear. Great place to start if you want to learn how to operate them. Yeah, no problem, Matt. Yeah, I guess it is dirty work sometimes, getting Getting down and dirty with all these add-ons and finding out which ones are good or not. Okay, we're going to do a short turn around here. The strobe's already on. Again, we're just going to keep an eye out for other aircraft. In general, it looks pretty clear. There's a nice headwind there into the windsock. So 97.4. 4 packs, 2 pilots. Flaps down 1 notch. Landing lights on. Let's turn the weather radar on to standby. It probably won't show anything because it's clear skies today, but we may pick up on some clouds. We'll set that on when we're in the air. So 97.4. Okay, throttles are coming up well. Listen to those engine sounds. They are, look, I think the engine sounds in the cockpit are much better than they are outside, let's put it that way. Very, very good, and we want to go up to 97. It is a little bit difficult to get that thrust. Brakes released. It's 60 knots. Positive rate climb gear coming up. A little bit of an early rotation. We actually didn't have enough runway almost. Positive rate climb gear is up and locked. Double check that down there. Got no alerts. And we're going a little bit into clouds. So let's click the weather radar on. 1,000 feet. Flaps are coming up. Didn't put the ignition on continuous and the pitot heat on like I said, but at this point we would turn the ignition off anyway onto normal. The pitot heat would stay on throughout the remainder of the flight. So we're just going to continue now climbing until we reach a safe altitude. So we can do those after taking checks. Landing lights can come off. It's a little bit different for GA planes and smaller planes like this. Usually the 10,000 feet rule would apply to commercial aircraft, and although we're flying GA for commercial purposes, it's still a little bit different on the operation. We're talking about a small plane here that operates in the same way as GA. Anyway, moving on. So weather radar's come alive. We've got terrain on there and weather. Everything's looking pretty clear. The sound and the handling is actually a lot better than I thought it'd be. So it must be based on the weight. The lighter the aircraft, the more temperamental it'll be. Up we go, climbing. I'm going to make a right on turn soon. We'll continue on to the airport. Let's use the X-Plane 12 map today since they've updated it. And you see over there, there's Geneva, very, very busy. We're going to go over here to this nice little airport, Lausanne. And we'll probably land on, well, it says 3.6, so it'll be a straight in approach. I don't think they have an ILS. No, there's no ILS, so it's all manual flying. We could use this. Tune that into nav 1 actually to make life a little bit easier. Selected down here on navigation. They have in fact fixed these, so now the needle will in fact point, both needles will in fact point to the correct place. Again, just continue climbing and just enjoying the view at this point. Pressurization may be useful. Let's go ahead and select it up to correct altitude. Heading mode, we're going to turn the autopilot on, we'll get on course. Again, we don't need to go very high up. I thought 10,000 feet minimum, but we probably don't even have to go up to that, guys. We can stick a fairly low altitude here and just cruise through the mountains. So in order to hold altitude, you can actually just press altitude and it will just stay in the same position. So same altitude, let's go altitude mode, autopilot and heading. And we're going to reduce that throttle back. We'll just see what it gives us on the speed. Down here we're going to put the engine sync onto fan. Absolutely stunning, really, isn't it? Absolutely stunning. So GMT time, this is my local time in the UK, and then local time in France is only 1 hour ahead. Flight time is accurate, so it says 40 minutes. I think that's 40 minutes since we loaded in to the aircraft, and then ET can come up if you are, you know, timing it or something like that. One thing we didn't put on takeoff was the yaw damper, so that's another feature that needs to come on. We waited till we get up to autopilot to do it, but the checklist calls for it to be on a lot earlier. About 250 knots indicated, 286 ground speed. As you can see, 82.6 on the fan, and we're burning about 525 pounds per hour. So even though it doesn't come with performance charts, you can in fact do a little bit of research yourself and do a little bit of messing around to determine that. Let's go for standard pressure setting as well. So yeah, if you are wanting to get performance charts and you want to know how much fuel it burns, my suggestion is just to do it yourself and figure it out, because or to at least overestimate the amount of fuel that you need. It's always better to have more than less. In fact, talking about fuel, we may need to refuel at one of our stops, so we didn't put any in for departure. We didn't do the fuel calculation. It is a real world thing that pilots are meant to do, but it's also something that happens in the real world where they forget. We become a little bit complacent. Looking at it down here, £700 each. Maybe when we land we can top it up to about 1,000 or something. Not at Lausanne, we'll do it at the next waypoint. We'll continue on the 137 nautical miles and we'll do it at Friedrichshafen. Friedrichshafen again, pronunciation is completely off. Minimum's 200 feet. No ILS at this airport, we're going to do it a straight-in approach. Just while we're on the cruise and we've got a bit of a clear area ahead of us, we're going to look around the cabin and check things out. I'd love to see, as I say, more physical things modelled. I'd like to see some coffee down here or tea, just to bring it to life. Maybe some classes in the cup holders. I just realised this guy's dog's gone missing. This bloke used to have a little dog on board. I actually like that. I hope they haven't got rid of it. I wonder if it's based on his weight, so we maybe have to increase his weight a little bit more. No, they got rid of the dog. Oh no. Or did they put it in the back of the aircraft or something? Oh no, I really like that talk sim. By the way, the models look really a lot better actually in terms of the detail. They've improved the models. Maybe I'm tripping balls again, but these ones not too much, but that lady there looks improved massively. The skin texturing is really done quite to a high standard. Her nostrils, a little bit on the peculiar side. Looks like the blue inside, and then they even took the time to model her teeth, and she's got a good set of teeth on her. If there are any dentists in chat, what are these back teeth called? And is there any point in modelling them on a flight sim? Anyway, that's unfortunate. Again, I would have liked to have seen the dog continue its life. It must have had a short life, that dog. RIP to Scruffy there. A lot of rodent running around the cabin all the time. Also, Torxin, please add a curtain for the cockpit, privacy curtain here. Make things a little bit more realistic. Okay, UNS, power on. We'll bring up the waypoints for the airport, make things a lot easier. Okay, waypoint message and integrations, these are now illuminating, brilliant. "26 nautical miles, folks," and then it's a straight in arrival. Here's the lake. There's Geneva Airport. It's actually very busy at Geneva today. A lot of traffic in the area. You can even see it on the ground there, getting ready to push back and taxi. Amy Parent, that's interesting they put Amy Parent's name in there, maybe again associated with Laminar Research. 27th of February, so the date is now correct as they said, and the time is now correct. So at least they said it, and it's actually functional working now. LFLI, that's just the current position we're at. And we're going to LSGL. So now we've put that in, we can actually visualize it down here. If you want to see the full map, go to obviously full map button, and you can now see the bigger version, and then you'll need to click on FMS to get the actual visualization. If you go on map ring, or excuse me, that one, press it again for full map, and then map ring, you can zoom in and out. So there's the airport. We may as well get descending. I'm going to do it on manual today, but I'll keep the yaw damper on. Autopilot coming off. I'm going to get prepared for landing, so bring those throttles back. Yeah, it's just too quiet outside, Torxin. I really enjoyed it before, but now it's really to the point where it's like, is there a plane there or not? That is probably more realistic, to be fair, give them credit where credit is due. Reduce our throttles right back when I get to stick our landing lights on. When we come into land, we'll do continuous ignition on the engines. I'm going to turn the weather radar off.
Geneva traffic, Freebird 736, established on the ILS4, runway 22, 15 miles, Geneva.
Brilliant. Let's see if we can see some traffic outside. Gotta be careful here, we are kind of going into the approach path, although we're below the altitude, so we need to go down about 2,000 feet. I'd say 2,000 for the approach. I keep looking at the X-Wing 12 map for the the airport to get the QNH and things. It's still 1021 there. I don't think we need to change it too much on this flight, to be fair. Pressurization, I'll keep that 0 until we get in the air again. One notch of flaps. Okay, landing reference 103. Flaps will be full for this approach. Flaps full in the Citation Jet 525 doesn't actually mean to the bottom, it just means to ground. It just means the landing flaps, so that'll be 161 KIAS. Ground flaps are when you're actually on the ground, and that's to help create drag and slow you down. And of course, the Citation Jet also has spoilers. One of the few smaller jets that actually does. I say that, but one of them actually does it automatically. So when you, excuse me, when you land and put the ground flaps, it will deploy the spoilers automatically at the same time. That's what I was meant to say. Very, very good though, very good at operation, easy to use. You can assign a key to it and it will make life a lot easier. Runway 36. Not too keen on this view, I'll be honest. I do like this one a little bit better. Let's go ahead and turn our... It have changed the colours here actually. This is a darker blue now for FMS. Runway 36, I'm good. 036. Keeping an eye out for the airport now. We should be able to see it soon. I think this is an airport with a little bit of a higher altitude now that I think about it. I remember coming here last time and it was dark and I couldn't see a single thing, and then I was on mountainside. Get the altitude and heading mode deselected there. Keep the flight director off the screen. Let's cheat a little bit and use that. I think it's right there ahead of us on that mount, that top of that mountain there. It's not really a mountain, but it's possibly around there. Nope. There it is. It's I think that's it there with the strip. Again, I could be just imagining things. I'm pretty sure that's the runway. We have visual now. Can get a little bit better established on final. Hey, engine sync coming off. We've had fresh air coming into the cabin the whole time, which is, again, not too bad. It's not going to kill us as long as we're not above a certain altitude.
Traffic, Scandinavia 46 at 12 minus final altitude.
Also, the cabin announcement is very, very quiet. I can't hear it at all. I can't hear anything. Maybe it's broken. I can just hear it in the background, but it really is quiet. Like, at least before we could hear the sound of it. Right, we're all over the place, so we're going to just get a little bit more stable here so we don't crash. Gear coming down. We'll go flaps full. A little bit early, but we want to be prepped. I think it's pronounced Lausanne traffic, Lausanne traffic. Again, unsure of the pronunciation. No traffic in the area anyway, we'll just skip the radio calls for this one. Okay, there's the altitude alerter. Very useful, and we're going to get the announcement on 200 feet minimums. Just off to our left hand side, you can see it over there, just over the buildings. Very small runway, bit of a GA airport this. So plan is we'll touch down, we'll backtrack. Not backtrack, we'll taxi and then get back onto runway 23 for immediate departure. No refueling, no actual stopover. Lausanne traffic, Golf Romeo Alpha November Tango, final runway 36. There we are, 2 reds, 2 whites, better than 4 reds. Reduce our power a little bit. We are right on the target speed of 103. We'll try and maintain this all the way down to the runway. Again, no ILS at this airport if you're wondering.
Geneva traffic speedbird 736, taxi to stand 33 via outlet.
Looks like this is a high approach. Can we bring it back? Generally, I think this airport is generally a steep approach. There's no... I'm not surprised though, it is on right on a hill here, right next to some terrain and houses. And then of course the poppies just go full white at the end. Let's reduce our power to idle, we'll glide it in. Yeah, it's hard to get it right here, minimums, we're going to continue. Okay, full ground flaps and some manual braking. Sweet Jesus. Excuse me, shouldn't take the Lord's name in vain. Right, let's put the flaps up. Grantham Corporate getting you there on time. That's the logo and the slogan. Didn't even put the ignition on continuous. That was pretty bad, that approach and that landing. I was thrown off by the puppy lights at the end. It kept changing and at first I thought it was the steep approach, but then I realised at the end it was just a PAPI system going wrong. Again, it might be because X-Wing 12 is not recognising the aircraft. It might be because of that. Again, not making excuses, just trying to point out things that could be potentially going wrong on the aircraft in the game. Right, lights are off, taxi lights are on, let's get our strobes off. Get our transponder to ground mode and we'll just taxi up to runway 23. 36, excuse me, for a straight out departure. We'll use 1 notch of flaps again, although I'm tempted to go 2 notches since it's such a short landing. Your damper should have gone off, just forgetting many things. I'm focusing so much on the 1.1 update and I'm not doing things correctly. Anyway, trims in the neutral. We're going to put 23,000 feet now for the cruise. And the altitude. Just about, I think, just about clutched it. We don't want to watch the replay, although then again it is tradition on the channel. I'll get the replay up when we get to the whole point. Sun traffic. Lausanne, just trying to find something here. A lot of things popping up. Lausanne traffic, Golf Romeo Alpha November Tango is taxiing Alpha to runway 36. It is a small private airport and it is suitable for private jets because you can see them all out here on the ramp. Tons of Vision jets. And of course our Citation Jet 525 there just tearing up the tarmac at the end. I think this is a great little airport. Maybe a little bit too small. Maybe it is just a little bit on the too small side. For the Citation Jet, but it shouldn't be realistically. I think if we touched down on the threshold, we may have made it in time and stopped on the runway. But yeah, in general, very small. Right, flaps down 1 notch, strobes on, and landing lights on. Altitude, we'll leave the this time ignition continuous. Pitot heats on. Lausanne traffic, Golf Romeo Alpha November Tango departing runway 36 to the north. Clear on the left. Fresh air's coming in the cabin. We're going to change that now to bleed air from the engines. Bleed air from the engines. Get the weather radar back on again to standby. Let's just go down here and put a waypoint in for the next waypoint to make this a little bit easier so we can follow it in the air. We do, I think, have a VOR at the airport we're going to. No, we don't, but it's called EDNY anyway. So now we're going to cross from Switzerland. So we're going from France to Switzerland into Germany. EDNY, we can go direct to that, so direct to number 3. Correct, and we don't really need to mess around too much in there. Again, we can bring it up on the map here. Follow the flight plan. If we want to follow the FMS flight plan, we could just put autopilot on and select navigation. Again, the go around button isn't giving us that 10 degrees pitch up, so I thought it might work. In that case, we might as well just go straight to nav, and I'll choose vertical speed when we're in the air. 97.9 on the power. Power is set, brakes released. Brakes back on, power to idle. Just going to abort the takeoff temporarily. We had a warning pop up then. There was a warning popping up down here, so yeah, I think that said air duct overheat or nose overheat on the avionics, something like that. We'll try it one more time. I won't release the brakes until level 100% set 97. So this is why it's always good to abide by the alerts so you don't kill the plane. 97.9. Reduce it back. Yeah, so there we go. If we go over the over the N1 recommendation, or if we go up to 100 there, it will in fact overheat the aircraft, so that's very, very realistic. Brakes released. Airspeed is live. There's 60 knots. I'm going to rotate early on this one. 80. And just about rotate. Power lines ahead, we'll get the gear up early with a nice steep approach, steep climb out. Just avoid those power lines down there, very important. Again, hazards and objects in the area of potentially aircraft killers, as you know. Right, we're in the air, we're going to select, we're going to cheat this time, we're going to select the autopilot on super early, so we're going to do vertical speed mode. The yaw damper is going to come on, and autopilot is going to come on. And we're going to let the aircraft fly itself and see how it handles it. We're going to do the ignition back to normal, flaps can come up. And the lights can come off. Looks like we're getting out of the Alps now. We're going to move from the Alps and the French Alps and the Swiss Alps over to Germany. No doubt we're going to find some beautiful scenery there. Oh wow, look at that. Look at that view. Absolutely gorgeous. Where else would you have views like this? And I know people are going to say in real life, so you guys just keep it closed, will ya? aside from real life, where else are you going to get these kind of views on the game? Granted, we're using the default scenery, but where else? I don't know. Again, the performance is off. I don't know if this is something that they realise and talks in, but before it used to climb fairly realistically. Now it's going like an absolute rocket at 1,500 feet. If we climb at 2,500 to 3,000 feet a minute, it's still going to climb like an absolute rocket. So there's something going on there with the performance. The performance is a little bit unrealistic now, I think. Before it used to climb maybe about 180 to 200, but yeah, they've really overdone it there on the performance, because we're still climbing, increasing our speed. That can't possibly be correct. Okay, fan sync coming on. We'll leave the power setting where it is. Message down here, let's check that out. So it's just telling us we're on the waypoint. Weather radar can come back on. Standard pressure. Okay, EDNY, Friedrichshafen, Germany, Quadrant Airport, Bodensee Airport. Not too far across the Swiss valleys. We're actually going to cross over Zurich, and then it's just to the east of Zurich, actually right next to a lake at the airport, so we've got another lake to land next to. It looks like we could change the title to European Mountain and Lake Flying, and there is in fact an NDB there we might be able to track on a frequency of 473. Let's go ahead and tune it in. ADF. Quite a high frequency there for an ADF, 473, and it should pop up on the thin green arrow when we get in range of it. Wind there is pretty calm. We got variable at 2 knots, VFR conditions, Kavik variable 2 knots as I say, 271420Z or Zulu. The other word's the time and the date. QNH 1020. And just talking about the lights in the cockpit being a little bit dimmer, so we can see here that even though the cockpit lights are on, it doesn't really illuminate them that much. I haven't got them on bright, but before, at this sort of setting down here, at the 9 o'clock setting, it was very, very bright, but now I feel like we have to turn them up full in order to actually see them, and even then, it's still very, very dim. I feel like there are changes that have gone on which they haven't told us about, and it kind of feels like they should be clear and transparent about updates. If they're going to change things, make sure you mention it in the updates. Don't just put things in there that you think people want to hear about. The weather radar is a good addition. We knew that was going to be coming, but again, if you're going to be using the basic radio stack like I am, this is a really, really fun way to fly, everybody. You don't need the GNS stuff. You don't need the Garmin stuff, the GPS thing. A great thing to use, but again, you just don't need it. You can just do it entirely on the stack. You've got a UNS system here, for goodness sake, so use that. My preference, anyway. Yeah, but yeah, there's a blank space here, so perhaps they could put some stickers. Just put something else there to bring the aircraft to life a little bit. Again, have perhaps a fuel and a weight conversion thing built in. That would be handy. I've never thought of that before. So there you go, everybody. I'm giving Talksim literally free tips to make money now at this point. And as I said earlier about the recommendations, I stick by them. I think Talksim has done a good job, and I think they can continue to improve the aircraft. The sounds are actually better in the cockpit overall. It's just the outside sounds are a little bit thin, so as we go back outside, as you can see there on the front, it's pretty much non-existent compared to before. Right, we're climbing so steeply, we're almost stalling. We're at 18,000 feet, we'll reduce it now, and we're going to preempt the cabin temp. So they could add a cabin temperature gauge, that would make things a little bit easier. There's no way to tell what temperature is in the cabin. That would make things a little bit more interesting. It would save us having to guess, so we're going to do what we talked about. We're going to just adjust the temperature here and preempt the cruise by going up a little bit, a couple of notches. If we want to put it on manual mode, we can stick it down here to manual and change this to hot or cold, depending on what we need. Again, we don't need fans on high, it's not exactly hot, and we don't need defrosting or defogging on. Pressurization is good, you can't see it too well, but it is down there about 5,000 feet. And as you can see, we can increase that throttle there to, it says 100, but we can increase over 100 and it's not overheating the system. That's because it's minus 19 outside, so we should probably stick our anti-ice on. So we'll do the tail on the automatic, we'll do the wings and the engines. I'll do the crossflow when we're in level flight and leveled off at 23,000. Okay, there's the other busy airport, Zurich. We're just going to land over here, just where this lake is. There's a little bit of, you can almost see where it'll be. Just past there, there's a lake, and that'll be our destination. We're actually skipping the mountains, so we're going right through the valley. There's Siegen down to the south. We've been there before in the Baron and the Citation X. I'm going to get a drink though. We're going to leave the aircraft on cruise. Again, I trust that we're not going to crash into any mountains at this altitude. All of them are over there on the right hand side, so we're safe enough. Okay, we're going to do the cruise announcement. It's just completely inaudible at this point. Completely inaudible. Funny stuff. Yeah, I'm going to get a drink. I'll be back in a minute. See you soon. Okay, I've returned. Just want to say a huge thank you to all the newcomers, all the regulars, and anybody who comments and just, you know, gets involved with the stream or even with comments on videos and things. I really appreciate that. Good to see people enjoying X-Plane 12. Let me know again what your favourite plane is. What's your favourite plane, X-Plane 12? Do you actually like the Citation Jet 525 by Torxim? What do you rate it out of 5? My original review actually gave it quite a fair review, but I didn't recommend it at its full price. I do think it's a good plane, but my suggestion, if you want to fly something like this and you want something that's probably just as complicated, even though it's not that complicated, you're probably better off going with the Citation X. I noticed we had someone here who's from Flight Gear before. I did used to fly in Flight Gear, and as I say, I flew in the Citation Jet 2. So I recommend using Flight Gear because it's free, and I do recommend going on the Citation Jet 2 to learn how to operate it properly, and it is realistic in its operation. You can find all these switches and things on the aircraft. The handling was very good. In fact, that video that I did last year, one of my first videos, was Flight Gear, and as I say, that was on the Citation Jet, and it did very, very well. It did a lot better than I thought it would. It got a couple of 100 views. I don't want to sound too mean on myself, I sounded absolutely baked on it, but just trust me, I was very relaxed, and I was just, you know, in a relaxed flight sim mood, so don't worry about that. If you go on my channel, let me find it for you. On videos, it'll probably be one of my oldest ones. Yeah, so it's called Citation, Cessna Citation 2, Startup, Takeoff and Landing at London Gatwick Airport, and it's half an hour video. 400 views, that's not too bad for a beginner. That's really not too bad.
The big one.
They've even got adverts on it. I didn't put them there, but YouTube, you know what they're like, they want to put adverts on absolutely everything. Okay, we're cruising, we've got 97.3. I haven't really adjusted the throttles too much, so let's reduce them a little bit. We're almost at this, we're almost going to descend at this point anyway. Zoom in a little bit, so we have 76 nautical miles. No traffic in the area, no alerts coming up. ADF's not coming live. When this comes alive, we'll get a better picture of the airport. Again, so going back to the updates, I wanted the tablet to be integrated and built in so we have an actual clickable object. They've modelled the tablet, and I always find this, I found this very, very strange in the original review. They had in fact modelled a tablet down here in the cockpit, and if you go into click regions, so show instrument click regions, you can actually see we haven't got G-loaded camera, and apologies about that, I thought we had it on. But yeah, you can see that the tablet has a click zone. When I did my original review, I said that I thought they were going to add this in because they put this area to be clickable. Then I thought maybe it was a teaser, maybe they were just doing it so that other people could put it in themselves, but I couldn't see the point of that. We're not programmers, we're just purchasers, you know, so I think they are planning on doing this. It makes me feel like they're going to do it at some point and add it in there because it is physically modelled and there is a click zone on it. Again, if you click it, nothing happens. But yeah, Torxim, get this functional and just take on board the feedback and things, and I'm sure more people will be interested in buying it. We have got some more things physically modelled. I don't think I remember that axe being there at all. I think that's new. Again, they haven't mentioned this on the update, but we can just see it in the cockpit. This axe here is brand new as well, brand new and modelled, but it doesn't function. I'm assuming this is for breaking the glass to get out in case there's a fire or something, or a crash landing we can't get out the doors. That kind of looks what it looks like. One of those kind of things. Although then again, it has a sort of bladed edge there, maybe to dig something out as well. If anybody is aware of what that is, let me know. But yeah, modelled the physical tablet, just not put it in there functionality wise. It'd be good if you could stick it on this little blank space, this space here, via like a sticky thing or some screws or something. Even onto the yoke would be fine. as you can see there, we've reduced it to 88 and we're already slowing down. Wing flow on. Going to be the alcohol on the windows today. Just pasted it in the chat. I don't know if anybody's interested. It was a while ago now. I did that last year, and I might go back to flight gear if I can get it to work full screen again. I'll go back and do some streams on the Citation too. Not bad visually, and it could have been a lot worse. Okay, we got 50 miles. We may as well start descending nice and slowly. So let's go down to check the airport first, see if we can see it. There's the Zurich. EDNY just over there. Brilliant. Hey, we do have a 1126. Let's tune that into nav 1. And QNH1021 landing runway 6. So again, a straight in arrival over the lake. Let's go down to 2,000 feet. And we'll use vertical speed mode. 4,500 feet a minute. Nice steep descent. Let's check if there is an arrival here. So if we want arrivals, we want to go over here to the right hand side and click onto menu. Then we can see there departures and arrivals. Runway 6, select that, enter number 1. So we do have some start procedures. We're going to skip that for now and go straight to the approach. We have got an ILS, so that will be what we just tuned in. 112.6. Not picking it up just yet. Well, we will do soon. We may as well do the ILS then and see how this thing handles it. Let's go for number 1. It'll be straight in approach. These are the transitions, so I'm going to bring up the charts and Navi tab to make this a little bit easier. 020 approach. ILS runway 6. So 4,000 feet. Let's just change that on the altitude to 4,000. Quite a steep descent there. 3.1 degree glide slope, 5.4%. Yeah, we don't really have a transition. It looks like we're just going to be straight in. So 057 will be our course. Unless you're coming in from the side, and that's what we would use that for. But yeah, 057, 4,000 feet by this point. And then we'll descend down 112.6 is tuned in. This will be a flaps full approach again. We won't put the approach there. We'll just skip that and go for flight plan. Delete any blank spaces. Previous. And then NY. Okay, it's disappeared now. Where's that gone? We need to go to NY600. NY060, NY600, number 3. Right, hopefully that'll work. Ah, yeah, there it is. So it's popped up on the map. I think the other lines there are probably just to go around. Runway 06, let's just check that. So runway 06 and then go around probably 4,000 feet again. Yeah, 4,000 feet. It's saying 123 nautical miles though, that can't be right. Yeah, something's going wrong with the FMUNS still, so the distance is not being calculated correctly. 123 nautical miles is not correct at all. Let's slow down a little bit more. The airport will be literally directly in front of us, so we may as well just go straight to final. Straight to that Argov number 4. And it's given us the time there, 15:03, again, a little bit incorrect. Now, if we want the ILS approach, we're going to have to switch from FMS down here to navigation. Navigation 1, it's still continuing forward as you can see. We're going to put the heading now onto the right heading, 057. I think we can adjust the course too, so 057 on the course. Uh-oh. And I'll leave it on there. We'll probably be able to see where it is as well. It's just straight across the lake. I'm going to idle the engines for this one. We'll get our landing lights on. Quite warm outside, so all anti-ice come off. No clouds in the area. Pitot heat remains on. Stick out the spoilers. Engine sync coming off. Cool the cabin temp down now a little bit, so again to that 12 to 1 o'clock position. I wonder if there's a way to change, maybe they could add an option to change the announcement sound, because it's well, at least it works though. Okay, we're coming up to 200 knots. We're going to drop a notch of flaps. Let's drop them nice and early. There we go, there's 200. You see out there the spoilers are deployed. Spoilers retracted. No sound at all there when we're idling the engines towards him. We cannot hear it. It's really quiet. Elegant style and elegant look. Probably more realistic F-mod, but for a sim we want to be able to get that feel. We want to feel immersed without having our volume turned all the way up. Can it handle the ILS? Because I can see it's already locked on to the ILS localizer. I hope. Let's just make sure it is in fact the same frequency as the charts. No, so it's a different frequency than what we got tuned in. So that's why it's always good to check. So the charts do not match up with X-Wing 12. You can see it's turning there onto the localizer, so that's good. It's got a better track on the localizer now. Well, as you can see, the handling is all over the place. That might be because I'm moving the rudder a little bit, but yeah, in general, it's a little bit all over the place. You see the yoke. Oh, radar coming off. This is bizarre since the update. It didn't used to do this. It's almost like it's struggling to track the localizer at this point. Should be able to see it over here. 1,000 feet to go. Let's just slow our descent rate a little bit more. We're almost on the glide slope. The landing lights are on. Flaps are set 1 notch. Seatbelt signs. I haven't really bothered with in this flight, but we'll stick them on. Passenger safety, and we can see these in the cabin. Illuminate up the top, so no smoking, and fasten seatbelts. Yeah, it's struggling to track it, I think. They said they'd improved the track, the localizer track in the RLS. But it does still seem like it's struggling. It seems like it's struggling more now than it did before. But to be fair, before it wouldn't even lock onto it, it would just struggle and then not lock onto it. Now at least it struggles and gets on track, which is always good to see. So let's get our thrust in there. We're going to drop our gear soon, we're about. So we're selecting nav 1, there's nothing coming up on the distance, so there, again there's just more bugs here which weren't there before. It should be a distance there on navigation 1. Let's select approach mode, because we're coming to intercept the ILS glide slope, so it's coming towards the centre. On its speed is 99, a little bit slower. Minimums have been set to 200 feet. Yeah, so distance before would show up on the DME for the localizer and things, and it would say, I don't know, 2 or 3 nautical miles. Now there is absolutely nothing popping up. In fact, not even these arrows are pointing towards it, which is a little bit concerning. So the question is, what is it actually locked onto? Because it's on the glide slope now. It's not got any distances on the navigation 1 distance. It's not got any distances on the DME, which they said they'd fixed. There's no distances appearing at all. There is also no movement in these arrows, which I thought was going to move. One of them should be pointing towards the localizer. Gear coming down. So yeah, they said they've improved things, plus there was a sound of screeching tyres then, which surely can't be correct. They said they've improved it, we've got the runway inside, but they clearly, you know, there's clearly bugs still at present in the plane. Let's go full flaps. If we're selecting nav 1 for the ILS, it should give us the distance, and it should be moving these arrows and pointing in that direction. The DME also down here. Again, there's no speed, there's no distance on it at all, on either one, and we have got it tuned in. That is disappointing for someone who says, for a product this price, for it to go from being okay and good, but not great, to being worse, is something that Torxing really need to look at. And I think they need to look at whether they want to actually develop any more planes, because at this point I'd be saying focus entirely on this one and get it fixed. Updates should be coming thick and fast to fix these issues. We shouldn't be waiting for over a year since its release to get a 1.1 release update. Very disappointed in that, Torxing. Just some feedback to take on board to potentially look into if you're interested. Let's go for continuous ignition. Hopefully I don't have a flame out. I have had a flame out before on this plane, and it says it's a lot of fun to do. The plane handles it well. We should have been picking up the FHD thing, which we tuned in a 112.6, which was apparently the localizer as well, according to the charts. Not the localizer, but the DME, but again, that didn't get picked up at all. 112.6. Let's try nav 2. 126 to see if it'll do it. No, so still nothing popping up there. A little bit of a DME distance there, working on there for it. But again, the arrows aren't pointing towards it, so that's a little bit useless. Right, I'm going to go autopilot off. I'm going to press the big red button. I'm going to turn the yaw damper off. Keep the approach mode button activated so we can see the glide slope. And just continue on our descent. Friedrichshafen traffic, Golf Romeo Alpha November Tango final for runway 06. I would give the distance, but I can't see it. And engine sync should be off, check. You're on wind here. Landing into a little bit of a tailwind. There's the out marker. That's ringing. It's the first time that's happened. Minimums. We gonna land this thing. Just our power a little bit more. Now flaps and some braking. Welcome to Friedrichshafen. Let's take a right and turn onto the taxiway. And we do in fact need to refuel, folks, so we're going to do a quick refuel. Then looks like we've got some nice parking here right outside the tower. Continuing ignition off, piezo heat's coming off. We're not going to use taxi lights because it's bright as daytime. Collision lights off, radar is off. Let's get the air conditioning off while we turn the engines onto the off position. We are going to shut down the plane for this. Lovely GA park in this airport. I think this is my first time here. Some good commercial aviation over there, and of course GA aviation here. So apron 3 and EF. I wonder if there's a refueling section. Might be one over there possibly. Either way, we're going to just park up over here with all these fancy planes and get the beast refueled. So let's get this transponder down here onto standby. Flaps up. Category 3 runway, unbelievable. That was a fantastic airport. I'm going to say this is one of my favourites. It looks absolutely brilliant. We've got a little bit of an X mark there. Can't park right outside the tower. We'll follow it round next to the Piaggios. Although this guy might want to, the old Sergei might want to move his plane back a little bit because he's going to clip our wings. Privyet, I like it a lot. Oh, that's going to cost his insurance. Okay, I don't really know what's in the area. We've got like a whole blast zone over there, maybe for like an engine testing area. This is nice though, we can just refuel over here and make it a hangar space park up, I guess. A lot of Piaggios at this airport. Germans must be doing very well economy wise. A little bit sharp on the brakes. I'm going to get the parking brake on. Everybody, you're going to stand by gyro off. Going to do the avionics off. We didn't turn the UNS off, but it will go off with the power. We'll leave the beacon on, we'll just turn the engines off with the battery. This is not the end, folks. We've got another stop after this. We're just stopping over to refuel. I don't really want to calculate it, although we could. In fact, I'm going to do my usual Grantham tactics and just change my mind every couple of seconds. Okay, how do we do this? We've unlocked, open the door. I think we depressurised cabin-wise. Let's just get the nose chuck on. Yes, I like the fact they've adjusted that nose wheel to not be moving now when you click on it. Let's stick some nose cargo in and some aft cargo there. About 300 pounds of cargo. Okay, brilliant. So good old Grant 525 parked up. Now, because it's in pounds, this is going to be a little bit more tricky. Let's go on the distance. We got 191 nautical miles. We did just calculate the fuel burn. About 600 an hour on each. So 191 nautical miles. It's very, very difficult without performance charts. I would love TalkSim to integrate them. There's no performance charts, so we're just going to estimate 500. More like 600 in each. Rounded up to 1,000, about 1,000. And that should be good. If we had performance charts, we could get the cruise speeds. We could then calculate the time to distance. And then we could get our fuel burn. Because it's not included, it makes things considerably more difficult. That's literally as simple as that, guys. Just slip the engine off. I can't refuel in the air because I've got a plug-in which prevents it. And you have to have realistic refueling with it. Okay, locks, we've got the green. Everybody strap in. I'm disappointed this guy's the dog is missing though. I know it's only a dog and it's a flight sim and realistically that dog ain't gonna fly the plane, but I think we can all agree we like that little hound there. He was an annoying little bastard, but you know, we liked him having him on board. I wonder if they've I don't want to say it considering the current events going on in the world, but I was going to say, what's he done with that dog? Where's that dog gone? We didn't make any stopovers in. I'm not gonna say it, everybody. It's risky. I'll risk my channel that way, won't I? Right, so I'll go there. We're just gonna get the engine started, super quick this time. Right, engine start. Angle of attack probe is in fact off. Shocks are off. Engine's coming alive. Welcome in, Treefing Flying. Just seen your message. Good to see you. Actually quite a lot of new people in chat today, so welcome to you all. Good to see you all. And again, thank you for being here. I'm glad to answer your questions. I'm glad you're enjoying it. New subscriber just bought this plane. Really appreciate your vids, especially when you point out the bugs with these products. Usually fly the X-Plane Baron. Yes! The X-Plane Baron is absolutely super. The default one, Laminal Research did an absolute slap-up bang job with it. I think the Reality expansion pack enhances it performance-wise, but that's about it. So if you want to enhance the performance, you're probably better off getting the REP as well, although there is, you know, enhanced flight dynamics as well available on the market. Okay, air conditioning coming on. Engines are both started successfully. We'll keep 23,000 on pressurization. Let's get some fresh air into the cabin. Takes lights on. Transponder back to ground mode. Flight controls free and correct. And as you can see there, we've got a bit of an issue there on the fuel. Fuel flow is 0 on the left hand side. Probably because we didn't introduce it. So let's go ahead and disengage the starter. No obvious sounds there to actually realise that was happening. Let's go for another engine start. Introduce the fuel. Successful engine start. Avionics are alive. Shouldn't really start the engine with the avionics on, but I thought it was already started. This standby gyro is off. Go down here, test and put it on and it'll come to life. Seatbelt signs are on. Tanks lights, beacon was already on. Just test the ignitions and the pitot heats. Parking brake release to get the UNS on. We're going to program in the last waypoint, direct to waypoint Echo Delta Golf Sierra Siegen Airport. Pronunciation is difficult on some of these airports. It's nice to get one that's a little bit more easy to understand. And then 489 on the ADF. We didn't pick the ADF up at this airport, which is another thing I noticed. The ADF did not come alive for this airport, even though we got the right frequency. So 489. Let's hope it picks this one up. Disappointing on the navigation, not picking the distance, and the arrow is not moving. I do like the colour of the FMS arrow now, though. It looks a lot better. Press any key to continue. Brilliant. Let's go to flight plan. Accept. Right, so it actually saved the UNS data, so that is something that didn't work before. So now we know, since the update 1.1, it's now saving the update, it's now saving the information, so you don't have to worry about it. The delete button seems to have vanished from the keyboard though, which is peculiar. There was a delete button here at some point. There's one there, but I meant down here. EDGS, Echo Delta Golf Sierra. Confirm Sigerland. See if there's any SIDS or stars. We've not got them on the flight plan, but we'll it's still got as an LFLI on the departure. That's very odd. EDNY check. Back to menu. Yeah, it's saving that waypoint. To menu depart. Runway 6. So we have got some SIDS and stars available. I'm going to skip it for now. We're going to do runway 6 for departure. We also landed on standard pressure. Again, not the worst thing in the world to do. 5,000 feet transition at 1020. Taxi power set. Lead air from the engines 23,000 for the cruise. So the course on the final waypoint will be on heading of. It is actually quite far to fly. We've got quite a distance here to travel, lads. Strap in, strap on. 190 nautical miles, 340 on the course. So we're going to set the head into that direction. 340. It's pretty much right there where the blue line is. There's the Baron there, the old Baron. One day I think X-Plane 12 will add HD, maybe not HD, but just better quality static aircraft, more clear graphically at least, because a lot of them are just low textures, low resolutions. I'm sure our computers can handle high definition static aircraft, especially if there's no systems built into them. Microsoft Flight Simulator does it. I think X-Plane 12 will probably do it at some point. We're on 12.4, so we may be reaching the end of the shelf life of X-Plane 12. I'm hoping not though, I'm hoping they continue with this for some time. Will I get X-Plane 12.12, X-Plane 13? Well, X-Plane 12 was the first one I bought. Do I recommend it? Sure, it's a good flight sim, it's got realistic flight characteristics of most planes. The default aircraft, some of the default aircraft are excellent, but the majority of them are not great. So the standout ones would be the Cessna 172, Beechcraft Baron, Citation X, A330. By far the most realistic Airbus, I think, on the default side of things. The Piper Cub, which is excellent. The Glider is a very, very good one. I did try the Glider. They've got some nice helicopters, they've got some nice warplanes. But yeah, the standout ones, even though people don't fly them, it's definitely for me the Piper Cub, and it's definitely the 172. And then of course you got those in the sort of black market region, those are not too popular, the Glider. And I think there's a, like I said, a warplane, but I can't remember the name of it. It's like an old, one of the oldest ones you can find anyway. Where's that going to take us? That's going to take us to Apron. We need to carry on down to runway 6. Pretty big airport actually. We could taxi down there to the end. Let's do that. Let's go all the way down to the end of the runway. (15°). We're just going to turn the cabin up a little bit in preparation for the climb, because we're going to be climbing very, very rapidly, I suspect. Again, 2,500 feet. How will you know when the next stream flight will be? I can't quite see all that message for some reason. I'm assuming you mean on my channel. On my channel we got a wallpaper thing you can see on the channel. It'll say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1:30 GMT time. Or 4:30 MSK. Or 2:30 PM Central Eastern time. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's been a little bit different recently. I've been going through personal things and getting things sorted in my life, so streams have been a little bit off. That's why Wednesday stream didn't happen, and I'm actually in the process of moving at the moment, so No problem, Truth in Flying, always glad to help. But yeah, they're going to be actually moving soon, so the streams might be suspended for the next 2 weeks. I'm hoping I'll be able to do Monday, sorry. But I think next week in general there might not be any streams until I've moved, and then when I've moved again it might be a little bit of time before I continue. In the meantime though, you can of course just watch the streams I've already done and watch the videos. And I may produce some shorts, who knows. Once that's all sorted, I promise the schedule will be back on track as usual. I said it a few times now, but I genuinely mean it. Once we've got through the moving phase, it'll all be good to go. Okay, holding short, 06, we're going to slip our brakes on. Collision lights, we're going to work from left to right. We don't put the pitos as continuous ignition until we're clear for takeoff. We're going to move the taxi lights to landing lights. Transponder to altitude. Weather radar to standby. Down here we want to put the flaps 1 notch. You can see there the takeoff and approach configuration. Automatic on the air conditioning. Cockpit air distance, it's up to you what you set it at. It may be better off at a higher distance if you want to keep it different temperatures, for example, but normal is perfectly acceptable. And then on this side we don't really need to change anything. I've got pre-selected co-pilot view though in case I have a failure on the captain side, so we're using digital instruments, the co-pilot's using analog instruments. Weather radar's good, the skies are looking clear, there's no aircraft traffic in the area. We're going to go ahead and give them a quick call out and let them know our intentions to depart to the north. Friedrichshafen. And we need to be on 1228. Friedrichshafen traffic, Golf Romeo Alpha November Tango departing runway 06 to the north. That's a good enough call out, I think, so we're going to release the parking brakes. We've been cleared for takeoff because there's no controller, so we're going to do continuous ignition on both engines, pitot heat's on, pressurization is set, flight controls are free and correct. Oh brilliant, well welcome in Truth in Flying, welcome to my other American viewers. I know we have a few of you on here. Absolutely love America flying. I do want to explore more of it in the coming years, as I said. And I will do it in the Citation Jet. We'll go back to maybe Aspen or maybe somewhere in San Francisco. I've still got a few flights planned out for there as well. And the good old Seneca 2. I know somebody was asking about it earlier. We will in fact be going there in the Seneca 2 and do some Oakland flying. And probably to the business centre. Okay, speed for takeoff 97.6. We don't need to put the brakes on for this departure. It's a 104 on the rotation, 107 V2 speed. Power sets, just about. Got 60 knots. Knots. V1 rotate. V2 positive rated climb, gear coming up. Have to take off checklist, so your damper's coming on. Ignition's back to normal. Flaps retracted, now we're climbing out at safe enough speed. We're about 1,000 feet in the air. We're going to do that left-hand turn out here to make sure it's clear. Even though it's IVAR, we're flying VFR conditions, and we may as well fly VFR to be fair. It's a nice steep turn out, 30-degree bank angle. And at this point we can increase our speed, so we can speed up probably to 200 knots. Navigation switch is armed. Now it will tell you to increase the N1 fan speed as you get higher up. That's also a normal thing and you can do it. But I found the performance of the plane is generally pretty good if you leave it in the same position you took off with. There's no need to increase it. We're locked on, we're going to do the autopilot mode. We're climbing about 2100 feet, we want about 2500 feet. Although I did say we were climbing a bit for faster speeds, let's decrease it to 2000. And we'll do the engine sync on at the same time. So fan sync, landing lights coming off. Weather radar showing nothing too considerable at the moment. All green at the moment, so we've got nothing to worry about. We'll switch that to 20 nautical miles, so we can see anything straight ahead of us. Okay, down here on FMS, we should be following that. We should be locking onto the flight plan. We go direct down here to EDGS. There we go, we're doing that right hand bank. Excellent. Performance is actually a little bit more realistic on this climb out. Pressurization is in fact climbing, so we're climbing in the cabin now about 3,000 feet. Increase that ever so slightly in the temp. I'm going to put the anti-ice on when we're below 10 degrees. Probably actually wait a little bit longer. Usually if there's clouds I'd put it on below 10. I think that's what you're meant to do, operate in those conditions. But if it's warm, you can probably wait till it gets into the minus to put it on, and you'll be fine. If we need to, we can use window bleed shield air. We're not needed that today, thankfully. We have 183 nautical miles. We'll be able to get there in no time, guys. So sit back, relax, enjoy the flight. Got Langdon radar on board. Langdon radar is for EDDF, so that'll be Frankfurt. I'm not sure if we'll have to contact them or not unless we're actually going to Frankfurt, so we may be able to skip that. We will be passing through their airspace. EDGS though has given me METAR, so it's saying 190 at 10 knots. Again, very light conditions today. Kavak 15 over 6 on temperature, and QNH 1016. Notams wise, we've got a few things popping up at the airport. Quite a few notices. Changes to SID NVO 1 Sierra due to LCD nav aid coverage. That's pretty important. ILS runway 31. Localizer is usable. What's 80 nautical miles in sector 08 degrees. 07 degrees in relation to the runway, excuse me, to the RCL. All boring information, but stuff we need to use. ILS runway 31 then is what we'll plan for. Minimum interception altitude in these areas is 39 altitude at 3,900 feet. Now that is very, very useful. What that means is that's the minimal altitude to intercept the localizer, I suspect. Changes to SID is the things that we took note of, and again ILS runway 31 is usable, unless they meant to say unusable, which is unfortunate if they did. Right, let's get that planned into the FMS, UNS. We can slow our ascent now probably to about 1,800 feet a minute. We'll keep the power setting where it is. Messages down here, next leg undefined. Database expired. So this is potentially another thing TalkSim needs to work on if they've not got updated database information. We're going to plan for the arrival, so we're going to go back to the menu and we're going to do the ILS. So, is that correct? EDGS, or am I imagining, putting it incorrectly and imagining something? EDGS. That's 100% correct, EDGS. There's nothing popping on there, it just says runway 06. There's nothing coming with this. Ah, stars, there we go, my fault. Runway, so we need runway 31. We get the Avi tablet up again, we can go up in and find it. So EDGS. We know it's QNH10016, we should be on standard pressure at this point. Runway 31, ILS 108.9. It's already tuned in. Let's go and make it that active. And of course a 350, 1900 feet, so it's quite high up airport. That's why the interception altitude is 3900 feet, because the altitude itself is very high up, 1900 feet. Keep that in mind, everybody. So go back to approach. Oh, FAS data block, that's interesting. ILS localizer. And just a typical ILS approach, it seems. So we're going to be high up, 6,000 feet. Steep glide slope, 5.2% on course of 306. And then if we need to go around, we'll follow 306 around and then come back over the NDB and then back to final. So 108.9 is tuned in. Brilliant. Usually, I mean, you could fly over the airport and then do like a turn onto final, but we're going to try and do it straight in. We're on the kind of correct course for it, so by the time we get to the airport, all we have to do is a left-hand turn and we should be on final. We're going to tune this thing over here as well to 31 or 306. Maybe this is why it didn't come up with the distance and the arrows before, because we didn't tune it in correctly. So fingers crossed. 83 nautical miles down here again. It's showing the distance, but the speed and the minutes is not coming up and not working consistently. It looks bad if they said they fixed it, and in reality it doesn't work still. Right, 1500 feet a minute. We're now at minus 15, let's get the anti-ice on. Turn the seatbelt signs off. We can increase the throttles a little bit, create more thrust, as you can see. So even if we go full forward, we can see down 1, because the altitude and the temperature won't overheat, as I said earlier. I have had one experience of an engine failure on final. It was a flame out on the left hand side, just as I was turning onto final, and it was a very realistic situation to find yourself in. So I hope, fingers crossed, we get something like that again in the future. I'll return to the cockpit, some quick table service. I appreciate everyone being here, as I say. It is really strange actually how popular this stream was. I've had more live views today than I ever had before, so thank you for that. The Citation 525 is... it seems very popular and it seems to be liked and enjoyed by people, which is good. I do like and enjoy it quite a lot as well. It's just those bugs and things that do bring it down. I think if they got it ironed out overall, it would probably be one of the best, and I probably would recommend it. But I still say, if you do want to get it, recommend get it only on sale. Only on sale. It seems Aviation are not very well liked by some people. Right, we're cruising not very fast though, so maybe we can increase our speed a little bit. We'll get the engine sync on. Engine sync's on fan. We're barely going 220 indicated here. About 322 on ground speed, so we're actually going pretty fast. We've got a tailwind. Yeah, so we've got a slight crosswind, tailwind there, about 31. There's Stuttgart. It's saying it might be the distance from the waypoint that's causing it to not pick up and register the details. So the airport is 1900 feet. We're still leaving at 200 feet for the minimums, as that's 200 feet above ground level. We could set it higher, I guess. We could go for 250 if we really wanted to, see the difference. Total flight time today, 1 hour and 46 minutes. So we sort of talked about the stars and stuff. Let's go ahead and just check that out in case we do in fact need to do one. It may be appropriate given that we're an IFR flight today. So we want to do rivals. It doesn't look like there's many options though. We're rookie, tabum. Looks like this is the only option we have, ladies. So we'll rotate the charts. Rookie 1 alpha. So Cola 1088. Right, that actually seems like a little bit of a pain in the ass. So arrivals via a tabum, direct entry to ILS 31/ATC only. Well, in that case we may as well take the tabum because we're coming up from the south, so it looks like it would be more appropriate for our flight. So it'd be the tabum 3 alpha. No transition for ILS. Well, you've got an RNAV option, but we're going to go for the ILS. So 1. It does have a transition of SIL. Is that on the map or not? So it looks like, yeah, we'll come down tabum 3 alpha and then 6,000 feet to the NDB. By the time we go to the NDB, it looks like we're going to be obviously transition then to the approach at Bedsea. Yeah, Bedsea's about there, and at that point we'll transition onto the approach. Brilliant. All the waypoints we don't need. Bedsea, and then that's, as I say, localizer. A lot of blank spaces in this, isn't there? Okay, EDGS. We are on track for the FMS or the UNS. Ah, there's the airport. Like literally. It's not giving us the approach on there, can't see, it just seems to be pointing us directly to the airport. Perhaps we have to go direct to number 2 here, so let's try that. Direct to number 2. Ah, yeah, there we go. Now we've done direct, it's coming up with the approach a little bit better, and that will be straight up from the south into runway that we need to land at. 23,000, our speed's picked up considerably. We're going to go 473 knots. We're going to reduce that power down a bit. We are getting that tailwind now a little bit, 38 knots. Frankfurt traffic will be coming up. Again, I'm not too sure if we'll have to tune into Langdon radar. I will note it down just as a sign of respect. So 120.8. And we'll listen to that as we fly over them in case we have to give them a call. Yeah, there's some of those reflections I was mentioning. They're not actually that accurate. So this part here in particular, we can just see the cockpit on this black sort of material, but how on earth can we see that from this distance? It seems to be showing the yoke as well, and it's all magnified inwards. So it talks him. I don't know what you were thinking by doing that, but that is like clearly would be more realistic to reflect the back of this gentleman's head. But it seems to be like flipped around, so we're somehow in the captain's seat and we're looking forward, even though the captain's seat is not anywhere near us. Love to see that change to be a bit more realistic. And then again here in the bathrooms, so we have how we got reflections of the cockpit here. This doesn't make any sense unless this is some kind of teleportation mirror where we can just teleport into the cockpit. I feel like this is the gateway to Narnia right here, so this doesn't feel very realistic. Let's just test it out. Is it in fact a gateway to Narnia or just back to the cockpit? Looks like it is, everybody, so we teleport literally back into the cockpit. How imaginative is that? ETA 16 minutes, ETA 16 minutes to arrival. We will be descending soon, probably through the Frankfurt airspace. It looks like we're heading straight into the departures, so we're going to be flying over them, so we may be better off waiting until clear of that area. Again, I'm not too keen on flying through into departures who are actually coming directly into me. We're at 23,000, so we should be able to avoid them, but there is a lot of traffic at the airport. We've got multiple planes here departing literally in the same direction I'm flying. We can probably see them. Hopefully we've got a TCAS system on board that works. As you can see up there, we've got some planes and we'll be coming across the airport. Let's tune into the Langdon radar. One 20805.
Lufthansa 24 Lima, descend altitude 5,000 feet, QNH 016. Descend 5,000 feet, QNH 1016, Lufthansa 24 Lima. Langway der Gute, Lufthansa Frankfurt Sierra, Maroon 8 Mike departure, 3,000 feet, climbing 4,000. Lufthansa 5, hold Sierra, Lang Ada, hello.
Just figured it out, actually. I think this will be for this passenger speaker will be the volume of the announcements, possibly. That may be what we need to do, so let's try that out. We may have figured it out. Let's go down here to announcements. Let's do cruise. Let's adjust the volume up to loud. No, I still can't hear it. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Mother Foxtrot, descending flight level 110 inbound ODP. Lufthansa 10 Foxtrot, Rudder, hello, identified, Frankfurt information, echo current, expect ILS Yankee 25 right. ILS Yankee 25 right, Lufthansa 10 Foxtrot. Hello, Lufthansa 6 uniform Juliet, landing 4000. Lufthansa 6 uniform Juliet, Rudder, hello, identified, climb flight level 110. Climb level 110, Lufthansa 6 uniform Juliet.
We're going to pre-select the altitude to 6,000.
EDNY 128, switch off flight level 230. Last station confirmed, EDNY 128. Yes, EDNY 128.
Let's just go back to the Honeycomb. So 6,000 feet pre-selected. We are now picking up on the ADF. This is good. This is coming alive. We're not picking up on the navigation thing yet. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that will in fact work. One of those should be picking them up. Let's tune the big one onto ADF and the little one onto navigation. We could use a little bit of both, you see. Localizers pre-selected, we have 49 localizers. We may as well get this descending. We're going to keep tuned in, as I say, to Langdon, just to keep an ear out in case they're going to contact us, but I don't think they will. And also we need to keep monitoring the traffic in the area.
Income Wayne Alpha Rifle and descend to flight level 110 behind 18. Behind 128 to be more precise, as I was before, after RMOP continued income on Alpha arrival. After RMOP on the income on Alpha. After RMOP continue to the income Wayne Alpha Rifle behind 18.
1800 feet a minute descent.
3691 level 220. Airspeed 3691 land Rudder, hello, identified, information echo current, expect ILS 25 left. Expecting ILS 25 left is with 3691. Airspeed 3691, descent flight level 110, cleared Girax 5 Alpha arrival. Cleared 110, cleared Girax 5 Alpha arrival is with 3691. Lufthansa 24 Lima, cleared ILS Yankee approach 25 right. Cleared ILS Yankee approach 25 right, Lufthansa 24 Lima. Lufthansa 111 speed 220 knots indicated. Bitte 20 Lufthansa 111. Lufthansa 1158, monitor advisory vorbei. Honeycomb, Lufthansa 158, danke für den Service. Danke für den Flug, tschüss. Lufthansa 5 Hotel Sierra, monitor advisory vorbei. Advisory, Lufthansa Sierra, schönes Wochenende, tschüss.
You can see here going straight into the partner aircraft. They're departing in this direction. Runway 18.
Descent flight level 80, Lufthansa 65 Mike. Lufthansa 111, turn left heading 2.
There's our runway, so straight in for 31. There's the NDB 489. Let's slow our descent.
4 Lima, speed 220 for now.
1200 feet a minute.
Speed 220 knots, 24 Lima. Lufthansa 6 Uniform Juliet, monitor advisory, bye-bye. Bye-bye, Lufthansa 6 Uniform Juliet, vielen Dank. Tschüss.
Well, we got a speed restriction at this airport, so it doesn't look like we have. Expect VFR traffic at Brightside.
Beeline 128, proceed direct Delta Foxtrot 412.
Must be two different airports here, possibly, or two different operations.
Delta Foxtrot 412 behind 28.
No speed restriction is coming up. We'll abide by the rules anyway. 250, probably be down by 210 at that point. And then by approach will come in. Our landing speed will be final destination 106. That'll probably because we put some fuel in, so we have a higher speed there on London. In terms of fuel burn though, we haven't burned too much off.
Only about
400 pounds.
Speed 160 knots or greater at 5 miles final, Lufthansa 49.
So there's Tabham. A little bit closer than I realised.
36991, proceed direct waypoint Delta Foxtrot 680. Delta Foxtrot 680.
Delta Foxtrot 680, Sweden 691.
And as Sweden 3691, descend altitude 4000 feet, QNH 1016.
Second altitude for Sweden 616.
Air Sweden 3691, descend altitude 4000 feet, QNH 1016.
Descend to 4000, Sweden 3691, thank you.
And QNH is 1016. Air Sweden 3691, QNH is 1016.
Roger, QNH 1016, Sweden 3691, thank you.
Lufthansa 1, Foxtrot, Lang Radar, hello, identified, climb flight level 130. Climb flight level 130, Lufthansa 1, Foxtrot. Lufthansa 111, speed 160 knots until 5 miles final. Speed 160 knots until 5 miles, Lufthansa 111. Radar right to climb flight level 120 inbound, so me. Ryanair 2 km Lang Radar, hello, identified flight level 120. Information Echo, current expect ILS Yankee 25 right. Expect ILS Yankee 25 right, Ryanair 2 km. Lange 9 Euro, 1 to 3, passing flight level.
There's Frankfurt just below us. Just about to see it. Absolutely tons of planes down there. Look at that.
Lufthansa 24 Lima, contact Frankfurt Tower, frequency 118.78, bye-bye. Frankfurt Tower 118.780, Lufthansa 24 Lima, danke, tschüss. Lange 9 Euro, 1 to 3 on flight level 118.78, bye-bye. Lange 9, Eurowings 1 to 3 again on flight level 40. First Lufthansa 111, contact Tower 118.78. Tower 118.78, Lufthansa 111. Eurowings 123, Lang Radar, hello, radar contact 4100 feet, climb flight level 130. Climb flight level 130, vielen Dank. Lufthansa 65 Mike, descend altitude 5000 feet, QNH 1016. Descend 5000 feet, QNH 1016, Lufthansa 65 Mike. Beeline 128, descend flight level.
Let's go ahead and depressurize our cabin now to
level 70, beeline 128.
to ground level. We don't need the radar, turn that off.
Foxtrot, monitor advisory, bye-bye.
We're going to flick over to advisory again. We're just monitoring it over the airport there just to keep an eye on departure traffic, just in case we had somebody coming up to our altitude there. They may have reported us on the radar or the TCAS system, which is why we were listening out. We don't want to be in their way, do we? We're going to keep transitioning their airspace just for a little bit longer, then we'll be out of it straight into Siegen land, or Siegen land again. If you've been there in real life, is it a good airport? Is it actually suitable for Citation 525? Today I think we've proven, well I've proven at least, that this aircraft can manage these small runways. It managed Albertville departure pretty well, although we had to rotate early on both Albertville and on the other airport we took off from, plus the landing was a little bit difficult on that first approach. The first runway we landed into was a little bit too close for comfort. Okay, we're going to slow right down. We want to get below probably 200 knots here, so we can drop a notch of flaps. We should really be at 6,000 by Tabham, but we'll wait. So from NDB, usually we do a U-turn I guess, and then come back for 6,000, but we'll probably be at 6,000 by Bedsea, which will be the localizer then for the ILS runway 31. We're going to switch this map to this one. It's a little bit easier to see. You can also use that to see your heading bug, but I know we're going to be going on to final, so let's turn that to 31, 306, and we'll adjust the course as required. Hey, before landing checklist or descent checklist, so we've got QNH is set, 1016, landing lights are on, anti-cols and beacons are still on, pitos, depressurising as expected, cabin temperature can now get cooled down again, engine sync could come off. Descent checklist is complete, we'll do the before landing checklist on final. Six 6,000 feet, we're coming up to 200 knots. And again, it is a pretty short runway, so we've got another challenge in store. Brilliant. 1600 meters. Well, I say short, that's probably alright, isn't it? So we might be able to make Bravo if we can, or not. If not, we'll go all the way to Alpha. Pretty small small airport though, so it looks like there's just hangars available to park at. We'll go near the tower as usual. We'll try and get a spot there and get in with the controllers. One notch of flaps. Something going on there with the game. The camera was like glitching out a little bit. Also, I can hear strange sounds. Not that sound, I'm talking about something else. It sounded like scuffling, perhaps. Maybe it's another plugin I've got making sounds in the background. Right, we're coming in. Landing lights are on. We were very, very slow though. 6,000 feet. Forgotten wind, so 29 knot crosswind at the moment. Let's confirm once again we've got the right frequency, correct, 1089. There's the NDB, which we are picking up on, but navigation 1 still not pushing or pointing towards the localizer. And the DME distance down here, so it's giving us the distance but it's not giving us the speed and the things they said they fixed. The same on number 2. And they are tuned in to things that can give us readings. So if you want the ILS If you're on the ILS and you want the localizer, it would usually give it the speed and the speed at least. And then maybe not the minutes, but maybe the speed. This is pointing in the right direction. These lines will line up when we're on final. As you can see there, we're intercepting the localizer, so we're going to do a left-hand turn. And it's represented there by the blue line as well. So both lines are moving towards the centre circle. As this gets to the centre, you can see we're turning there to intercept the localizer. The glide slope, this horizontal bar will move towards the centre, and it will show that we're getting towards the glide slope. So it starts to move. We're going to press the approach mode. Navigation 1. We're going to tune the course to the right way. 306. And as you can see there, it is wobbling around again. It's doing that thing that it did before where it struggles to get established properly, but it is getting on track, if you can believe it. If you can also believe this is a 1.1 update, so they haven't, you know, this isn't like public beta testing at all in any way, shape or form. Cough cough. Clearly is. There it goes, getting towards the centre, about to descend the glide slope. We have still got pretty strong winds here. 20-30 knot crosswinds, so we're definitely out of our depth here. Right, I'm going to reduce the speed. When we get on the glide slope, I'll drop the gear. I'm going to keep focused on the instruments. We don't really have to look outside, although we can. We've got visual conditions. You can show the wind speed on here if you go down here to data. Change the flight director. There was an option here to show the wind speed. I might be thinking of another plane though. Right, we're on the glide slope, so I'm going to drop the gear. We have no distance coming up again at all, like literally nothing, not even on here for this thing. That is really just so sad, isn't it? How can they go from having a functional plane which works and which shows, it actually did used to show distances to the runway and the RLS, but now there's just nothing. It's just not functioning at all, TalkSim. Surely you didn't just release this to the public without testing it. Surely you didn't give it to the public and make them beta testers, because that would be on another level of greedy. You guys need to test your products. You need to make sure they're functional before you release them. If you are thinking about buying this, just don't do it, because TalkSim, you know, they really don't deserve the money, and they are, you know, not struggling for money at all. $86 for a plane which can't even do what a basic default X-Plane 12 plane can do. I'm sure I'm moaning a little bit. Well, when we spend money on something, we expect it to be of good quality. Okay, run along final. Again, no idea of the distance. We have selected approach. We seem to have missed the glide slope. It's not even tracking the glide slope at this point. We're way above it. Yeah, so it's completely failed on that front. Now it did it earlier, it did track it, but this time it's decided not to. So we're going to descend down to 3,000 feet at 1,500 feet a minute. And you can probably tell the tone of my voice has changed. I'm a little bit disappointed. The runway's over there, but the glide slope is well off now. Thank you for potentially destroying something that was actually bearable to deal with. Right, continuous ignition in case of a flame out, or in case of prevent one. We have got approach mode arms. We have got autopilot on. Let's check the name. Siegen. Siegen Traffic Golf Romeo Alpha November Tango is on a final approach ILS runway 31. Let's see if it'll intercept the localizer glide slope this time. It should have done it before. We were at the correct altitude. It even got censored, but then it just didn't follow it down. So let's see if we can pick it up at this altitude a little bit lower down. We are on it. We should be tracking it towards the runway now. Glide slope is still in white. It never illuminated green. Is it going to change? No. So, yes, it has. Approach and glide slope is now illuminated green. We should be on that. We'll put some more power in. Fuel damper off nice and early. Continuous ignition, flaps are set. Landing speed is 105. Gosh, look at that bumpiness at the front. I love this when we're going to X-Plane. You get these open fields and you can really see just how beautiful it looks, and also the plane, you know, the physics bouncing around like this is very, very good. We've come into a nice place. We've gone from the busy, bustling cities, from the French Alps to the Swiss Alps to lake landings. Some really beautiful airports today, and then finally ending it in Germany's fantastic forests. Absolutely brilliant out here, just secluded in the forest here. We can go camping. We can go bear hunting if there's bears in these woods. Right, this thing's going crazy for the ADF. Still not got the nav 1 point in the right direction. Again, still no distance even at this distance. Right, we're going to go autopilot off. Big red button. That does not mean we're nuking it, everybody. That means disengage autopilot. We're going to keep the power setting where it is because of those high winds. The controls are extremely responsive because of the high winds. They've cooled down a little bit, but still about 12 knots from the left-hand side. Come on. Reduce it ever so slightly now on the speed. This is a nice long runway. We've got a proper ILS PAPI light system. There's the middle marker. Minimums. There's the minimums. We're going to continue. 250 was probably better on the minimum, so good choice. Reduce that power to idle. We're going to float, aren't we? We're floating. There we go, we're down. Some lag at the end as well. Bit surprised actually by that, but I think it's just the torques in plane. It does generally take up quite a bit of resources compared to normal models. Okay, welcome to Siegen. Guten Tag. I hope you enjoyed that. Guten Abend. We'll go flaps up. Ignition off. Pizza heat's coming off. Takes the lights on because it's a big airport. Transponder onto ground. Strobes coming off. Weather radar was already off. Yeah, a lot of lag here. I was not expecting this. I don't know if that's an X-Plane 12.4 thing. I thought they'd improved the performance for multi-core processing, but it seems like here there's some lag issues, especially when I'm using the camera. So when I'm using the X-Plane 12 cameras, you can actually see the lag a tiny little bit. Get over to the terminal. So we've taken it all the way down to Alpha as I suspected. We're going to continue to the tower. Beautiful, beautiful airport. I'm going to mark actually every airport today. I'm going to just put it in my favourites. All of them have been super enjoyable to fly to. Super fun to do some short European executive travelling. And we've had the same people on board throughout the entire trip, so kudos to them for enjoying the landing. We're going to turn the air conditioning off at this point. I'm going to just turn the bleed air onto fresh air into the cabin, just let things cool down a bit. Again, performance wise, computers is not struggling. This has to be a performance thing from the Torque Sim 525. We'll go over here next to these lot, and we've got fuel down there as well, which is handy. Keep an eye out keep an eye out, all clear. Takes lights off, transponder to standby, we'll squawk 7000. For visual. I think this is a space, it says H on it, maybe a helicopter space. Very, very tight taxiways. Hey, look at that, we've even got some...
5 on final, runway to 4, ILS landing.
We've even got some towers and some hangars. I actually think about it, I think I may have been here before, I recognise these hangars at the back. We have an airside operations, we have some tractors. Yeah, I definitely came in a 525 before, parked at the top. That's why I'm remembering those hangars. We'll park at the front, I'll get the shutdown, I'll give my final thoughts. No idea what is going on the radio. We have a pilot in distress. Genuinely got no idea, right.
I shouldn't depart at the runway because I'm like almost there. I know we're almost miles.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on, guys. Grantham going to stick to his business. We've been paid for this entire trip about 6,500 per person, so times by 4, and that's the income for the flight. So quite a good amount of money made today. I won't be getting that pocketed myself because I'll be paid a wage, so we'll be pocketing the interest from that, and I'll get a wage from that. But we won't get the entire thing, of course. We paid for some fuel, we paid landing fees, we paid a lot of things. So let's go idle the engines. Avionics and things can come off. Inverters coming off. Let's get the gyro one off. See what signs were never on to begin with. That's pretty typical for a corporate flight. You wouldn't really bother with them. Lights off. Beacon remains on. Engine shut down. Flaps are up. Beacon and battery off. Right, I'm going to stick the control lock on. We're going to put the sign in the window, disconnect the battery internally. This is just to prevent hooligans stealing the plane, not that they would actually bother because they wouldn't know how to fly it. I'm going to stick the... Oh, that was not right. Oh, it was right. Right, we're going to stick the sun protection on. Everybody, welcome to your destination. You broke many rules there. You look too suspicious. You had the tray table folded out when it should have been in this position. Technically, I should take some money for that. And you, I don't know what you did with your dog, but I'm disappointed in you, man. Jeez. Alright, we'll open the door. Let's get out of the citation. I'll hop out with no step. The people can walk out. Boom. They're all out. So we'll empty it. Take the pilots out. Yeah, I think also talking this would be a bit more user-friendly, but these slide bars are not that easy to operate, so you'd think they are, but maybe a box to type the weights in, because when you're dragging it to 0, as you can see, it's not actually dragging it to 0, it stops. So maybe some boxes and maybe some conversions there into pounds. And just to summarise again, the biggest things that are let down are the sound, the flight handling. They said they fixed the DME distance thing, but actually we've just discovered today that it doesn't work at all, and that is very, very disappointing considering they said they've improved it and updated it. To have come back in the plane and discovered that actually it doesn't work, that's a kick in the nuts, okay, to put it lightly. That is a kick in the testicles from Talksim. Whether it is a good addition, but there's a lot of blank space there on that panel that could be filled. There's a lot of things that could be done with the conversions to the pounds to kilos. Is not hard to integrate, guys. If people can do this for free, I can do it. I know how to do that. Then Talksim can do it. Okay, it's not that difficult to put the conversions in there and allow people to use the system they want to. Yeah, it sounds very quiet on the outside. We've got lower sounds on the engines, but the sounds in the cockpit have in fact improved. What hasn't improved though is performance. The performance of the aircraft is worse, and I'm talking about computer performance. So today we've noted lag. I've noticed just general lag in the cockpit of buttons not responding immediately, switches, you know, not operating as they should in the real aircraft. It's a little bit disappointing. I do think it's a very good aircraft though. It's a lot of fun to fly, but I appreciate everyone being here. It's a nice long flight. I appreciate there's been no replays today, but it's not the end of the world, is it? Everybody have a lovely evening. As I say, I'm in the process of moving out, so next week there might not be any streams. When I've moved, I will come back on and we'll get resumed as normal. Take care, all the best.